Oh, shit. Hello. Hi guys. It's been a while. Sorry. Basically, I've been practicing all the time. If I'm sitting down at my desk, I'm playing the game. I'm practicing, I'm in ranked, doing whatever. So I haven't been able to get many videos up lately, and I apologise. But I've got something for you today. Basically, quite a while ago, we had the big stance patch, where the stats got reworked. Well, most of the stats got reworked. I think defense is the only stat that remained roughly the same. I know the bottom rung of it sort of got pushed up a bit, but yeah, we're going to go over that because that was one of the biggest patches that we've had in a very long time, and a lot of what happened in it flew under the radar. Because, in my opinion, it fundamentally sort of reshuffled any kind of tier list that was made beforehand. It directly buffed all characters of low speed and low dex, and directly nerfed all characters over 5 dex, like high dex. And we're going to talk about that. Thankfully, I've just got some random gameplay in the background. Maybe this is a little too big, so you can see it. Duh. Yeah, I've just got some random replays in the background while I chat. And then we're going to move on to something that the wonderful Debreen has made for us to help us illustrate this point. I've been meaning to make this video for ages, but yes, where is it? Here we go. Hey, we should just watch the end of this game. Am I going to end it here? Oh, nice. Okay, perfect timing. Perfect timing. Bam! Whoa, what is this? Recovery times on miss for different dex values. Beta 2.44 by Debreen. Now, I will link to the tweet that this is from in the description. I advise you to check out yourself. Basically what it is a chart detailing the exact amount of frames that each weapon gains or loses depending on how much dex they have. So what this is going to be about basically is where you should be putting your stats in terms of stances, like what stances are more desirable just from a numerical standpoint. What's preference. I'm going to talk a lot more about the ones that I play, which will be scythe, guns and spear mostly, and lance. I'll briefly go over the others. I mean, most of it you can see is just a simple numbers game, but the point is, and what we're going to attempt to show and reveal is that dex sucks. Okay, before the stance patch, everyone knew that high dex characters were overpowered. We had Vrax with the D-Light N-Light on lance. You had Koji with the the machine gun bow, and basically you needed either one of high dex, like 7-8 dex, or 7-8 speed, or 6-8 speed to be competitive. And the stance patch completely changed that, and we're going to look into why. Dex now is, in my opinion, a dead stat. Like, I didn't believe it at first, because what happened is the day of the stance patch, I was streaming, and Debreen came into my chat, and we were talking about it, everyone was talking about it, and he just said, the only good dex is 5 dex, and the rest of it is placebo. And we're going to get into that, because I agree with him. I really agree with him. I'm going to show you why. Thank you. Thanks to this wonderful, wonderful chart that he's made. So let's have a look, okay? I'm going to try and explain this. If you're not too big into frame data, I'll try and make it sound like... Debreen's laid it out really well anyway, so it shouldn't be too hard for you to understand. But roughly, if you don't know already, dex, how much dex you have affects how many recovery time, how much recovery time you have on miss and hit with certain moves. But this is the thing, is it's not like with speed, strength and defense, it scales numerically. There is a numeric scaling. Each stat point gives you X amount for every single character and every single weapon. Dex can't work like that, because there are some moves that just should not have decreased recovery time ever, and there are some that really need it more than others. So it's been done manually. Dex is a skill that gets tweaked manually, and then that opens it up to being quite problematic. And we're going to look at a few of the extremes here. Where should we start? I guess we'll just go down the list in order to try and give a sense of what's going on with dex as a stat, and why you should always be, well, for the most part, personal preference, there is some gaps, and I'll explain those, I'll talk about those, but for the most part, you want to be moving closer and closer towards 5 dex for the most efficient use of your stat points for your legend. And if I talk about going more than, obviously, what a legend with 6 dex can't have 4 dex, you can only go down +1 or -1. This is more so, if I talk about, oh, you're at 6 dex, maybe you should try, 4 dex is better, I am saying there's another legend. I'm not saying this is what you should do with your legend. In the plus and -1, yes, you can do that with the stance. Beyond that, have a look at the other legends that can do that. Because this was a direct nerf and buff to specific legends. And, I don't know, if you don't want to shuffle around, you just have to make do. have a look at this yourself and see what's best for you, because there are some things that are pretty crazy going on here. So okay, let's start. Sword, right? So this is the main line that we're going to be looking at. Let me change my mouse cursor so this is easier for you guys to see. I was so proud of myself for being able to... Oh, no, that's not it. Recording. Bam, look at that. Huge green dot. Is that showing up properly? There we go. Yeah, okay, it's showing up. Alright, so this is the line, the main line that we're looking at here is going to be the one in blue. It's in blue on all... You have the weapons here, and this line here is the one we're looking at. And this is the most important one to begin with, just to get a sense of what we're talking about. So what the numbers in these boxes are, okay, we look at 5 dex. 5 dex is going to be 0 all the way up and down the chart, 0, 0, 0. This is how many frames are gained or lost, depending on your dex stat. So a sword character that has 5 dex is the default, so it's got 0. If it has 6 dex, you're cutting 4 total, like, overall, across all your moves, you're going to be cutting 4 total frames, 4 recovery frames from the kit, the entire sword kit. And in this case, for example, 6 dex, you're losing 1 frame from D-Light, so your D-Light will be 1 frame faster when you miss it. Ser, dare, and nair. Now, what we're going to talk about exactly is how useful is that? And look at this. Like, well, actually, no, we're not even going to go into how useful is that. First, look at this, right? 0. You spend 1 extra stat point to be 6 dex. Minus 4. So you've saved 4 frames now, which is decent, right? It's decent. It can make an effect, especially because it's on core moves, right? It's on very core moves. Now look at 6 dex, and then skip over to 7 dex. You only save 1 more frame for 1 stat point. And this is where the disparity comes in. From 5 to 6, you spend 1 stat point. Okay, every legend has the same number of stat points total. You spend 1 stat point, you save 4 frames. You spend another stat point, and you save 5 frames. So you gain 1. So there you go. You've got two stat points, and on an average, like the extremes are so insane. Like, this is not even the worst example of it. But yeah, you're going minus 4, minus 5. What is the 1 frame you're actually saving? Ground pound, ground. Right? That's when you ground pound into the air, land on the ground. If you miss your ground pound and stab the ground, if you spend 1 extra stat point, you're getting 1 frame from your ground pound off, where you recover. Like, what is that? Why would you ever want that? It's not. It's exactly the same. So you can basically say, like, considering this is largely irrelevant, it's not part of Sword's core kit, and you're never really aiming to miss this on purpose, because it's pretty laggy anyways. You can see 22 minus 1 is still way higher than many of your other options, especially, what's dare? Dare 17 minus 1. You would just dare, and you'd be better off. You'd be better off just using dare on 6 dex than ground pound on 7 dex. There's no value, no added value at all. Like, and apart from, like, yeah, you can come up with some crazy situation where there is some. Fuck off. Like, no. 7 dex and 6 dex are therefore, for all intents and purposes, identical. So you have 1 stat point minus 4, 2 stat points effectively minus 4, 3 stat points, 7 and 8 dex are the exact same. 7 and 8 dex are the exact same. That's what? That's crazy, right? That's crazy. So now 6, 7, and 8 dex are effectively exactly the same on Sword. So why spend 8 dex when you could have 6 dex? And this is why characters like Koji are just less strong now, because characters like, you can have Koji who has 8 dex, and you can have Hattori with, I'm pretty sure Hattori has 6 dex. You're going to crucify me if she doesn't. I'm pretty sure she does. With 6 dex, and their sword is the exact same. The only difference is the SIGs. Their sword is the exact same. So, and Hattori has got 2 extra stat points to spend in other areas, and Hattori puts them in movement speed in that case, which makes Hattori a better legend overall. You're getting more value, more numerical value, more like in-game real value out of your stats than Koji is, because he's spending it on dex. However, if Koji jumps up to 9 dex, and I don't play Koji, I don't know if you should do this, I don't even know what he loses if you do this, suddenly you're gaining 6 frames. 6 frames. That's another frame on Ser, Dare, Nair, core moves. Another frame on N-Light, really good core move. S-Light, core move, especially since it got nerfed. Ground pound air, nah, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, look at the jump. Look at the jump. So you've got a flat here where basically from 6 to 9 dex, there's a difference. The jump between 5 and 6, well, the jump between 5 and 7 could be described roughly, like, just numerically, because of course this is basically minus 4, not minus 5. So you could just say 5 and 6 is equivalent to 6 and 9. So like, there's just a huge disparity here. You're not interested in it. It's not worth it. Sorry, let's just put it that way. Between 4 and 5 is the same as 6 and 9. So 4 and 5 here, you're saving 6 frames overall. If you're starting at here at 4 dex, and you go to 5 dex, you're at +6 here, you're at 0 here, so you've got -6 frames. And then you started on 6 dex this time, you're on 0. Well, and then, it kind of blows my mind is all. You can see the waste of stat points. Why would you ever want 8 or 7 dex on sword? You don't. Avoid it like the plague. Now, you can go and look at, of course, there are some cases where you look at one weapon, it's not the case, like, and dex is useless on it, but the other weapon makes up for it. But there are, like, that's very few and far between, and I'm going to show you the exact opposite, right? Have a look at this, okay? So, I'm just going to skip down here. We will go back up to these. If you look at guns, right? Guns, you can make a solid argument for playing it at 8 dex still. Because you can see this is 5 and 6 dex, only -2, and you're only saving it on ground pound. You'd never want 6 dex on guns. Just avoid it. Avoid it like the plague. Right now, 7 dex, Enlight. Enlight's still got high total frames. Sorry, that's D-Light. D-Light, okay, that's pretty good. 7 dex is okay there, pretty good. D-Light, that's nice. But 8 dex has got the first change to guns' core moves. Sarah and Dare, super core moves, you're using them all the time. Overall, you're going to be saving a lot here, and they're meaningful changes. Dropping Sarah's recovery time is a big deal. Same with Dare, it opens it up to more aggressive use, right? So 8 dex seems good on guns, right? Who has 8 dex on guns? Vrax, possibly Ada. You can make an argument for running dex on Ada, I don't like it. But, let's see, right? So you're happily keeping your 8 dex on Vrax. Even though you know dex is a bad stat, you're happily keeping it on Vrax. Now let's go down to Lance. -8, -8. You're losing out completely on Lance. Whereas look at if you have 6 dex, like if you have 7, you have 6 more than if you had 6 dex. If you have 8, you have 6 more than if you had 6 dex. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Just don't waste a stat point here. Drop down to 7 dex. Deal with the -2 frames on guns, and your Lance, like, you're going to be getting more value elsewhere. I think it's movement speed that, or is it defense? I can't remember what it goes on to in Vrax. Even if it's any of his other stats are better than dex in this situation. That's just so terrible. For Vrax players out there, do not be playing. Like, again, look, 9 dex, you get -1 off Nair for Lance. That's pretty good. What about for guns? 9 dex, -7 recovery, doesn't matter, doesn't get punished anyway. S-Light, that's a pretty big deal, but you can get around it, you know, like, you can do without it. You'll live. It's just not worth this extra stat point. You're now investing 2 stat points to get to where 8 dex really should get you anyway. And again, this is not about balance, right? I'm not saying, oh, we should tweak this because this is imbalanced, or this is, like, too strong, this is underpowered. I'm more pointing out what you should be doing with your own stances and stuff, and how maybe dex could do some work. Like, this is the thing, I'm not the man with the answers when it comes to fixing this. I'm more looking at showing us what we've got, thanks to Doreen's wonderful chart, and looking at what we can do with it as players. So this is not a fuck you BMG, fix dex, you know, like, clearly I think dex has some issues in this case. And I don't know what they can do to get around it. Maybe they can start pulling frames from elsewhere other than recovery time. Something like that. But that's not what this is about. So, right, so we have some extreme examples there. Let's just quickly go over the other weapons, see what else turns up. Look at Spear. 2 dex Spear plus 17. Never fucking do this. Well, actually, 3 of those are on ground pound, and that doesn't really matter, because if you go for ground pound, you're getting punished, or you're hitting it anyway. So that's not as big of a deal, but 3 frames on Sarah, that's awful. 2 frames on D-Light, that makes it pretty much it removes the whole purpose of D-Light, which is D-Light's the mediocre hitbox that has some great hurtbox movement that keeps you very safe. You don't want to be dropping dex here. Whereas 13, like, if you're playing Nash, right, bump up to 4 dex, and look how many frames you're saving. You're saving a frame on D-Light, really good. A frame on Sarah, really good, and those are crucial frames again. What else are you saving? This is so difficult for my eyes to deal with for some reason. You're saving a frame on N-Light, a frame on S-Light, a frame on pretty much... No, on literally everything you're saving a frame. Oh, no, apart from Dare. Dare's fine anyway. Dare doesn't matter. Like, that's insane. So, like, if you're playing Nash, bump up a dex. If you do that, it's worth it. It's worth it. You're saving 7 frames. But, if you're on 5 dex, bumping up to 6 dex, you get a frame off your Sarah and a frame off your recovery. Frame off recovery doesn't get punished anyway. So You're getting 1 frame off of Spear. You can argue that that's worth it. Generally, I would say it's not. It's just not. Like, but this is where personal preference comes into it, because I personally, I kind of not. I'm moving away from guns at the moment, but if I do play guns, I can't stand 5-dex guns. I just can't stand the feeling of it. There are certain things that I like to do as a player that doesn't work on low dex. I can't. I don't feel like I can accomplish my goals when I play low dex guns. So a lot of it does come into like personal preference, but again, personal preference. If you prefer one over the other, like, power to you. You do that. Go ahead, right? You enjoy yourself. You can you can make anything work. If you're using the wrong stance, you can still win a tournament. Absolutely. This is. But if you're just pushing for any advantage, if you're being a no life like me, or Debreen, then this stuff matters. So let's see what we got. -2, -2, another, and like there's 7 decks on Spear. It's pretty good here. You've got 1 off Nair and 1 off Enlight, as well as the 2 off from 6 decks. So it depends on what stat you're replacing it for. I would probably take 7 decks Spear over 1 extra point in defense for, let's say, Ada. You know, I wouldn't drop down to 6 decks on Ada. Well, let's have a look at guns. 7, 1 frame on D-Light. Okay, that's 50-50. All right, there's not much value here, but for a frame on Enlight and Nair for Ada, that would be cool. But again, like, that's an example of where it's personal preference. If you go up to 8 decks Spear. Who has 8 decks Spear? Monk has 7, and then you can push up either monks or raiders. Ground pound, not worth it. See, like, these are trash. So that's basically -5, not -7, and it's only D-Light, and that's alright. But I mean, D-Light's good enough. D-Light already accomplishes its purpose. So even though you're getting a frame off a core move, it's not making anything more out of the move than it already is. It's just making it less punishable, which really is it's a matter of it's an issue with your decision making rather than your dex stat. You know, if you're fucking up, the worst that you can do is change your dex to stop, like, to cover yourself from fucking up. Like, there's a lot of people who will pick 2-9 decks. A lot of bad players will pick to 9 decks because it makes them take a less of a beating when they fuck up, because they're constantly, like, making mistakes. Let's have a look. 5 decks, 4 decks. What do you lose? Nair. Recovery frame on Nair. Hammer, you want 4 decks. So look, this is why Nash, right? Nash is an insanely strong character. Nash right now, so good. So good. Just like the stat efficiency. He has stats in all the right places. And then look at this. His hammer, 0, -1. Have 4 decks on hammer, why not? I don't know about the details of hammer enough to really go deep into this. Guns, I think guns is one of the more evenly spread ones. Well, it is one of the more evenly spread ones. Low dex is a bit punishing. Bit too punishing. 0, -2, -3, -5. So you got a like gap of 2, 1, 2, 2. So theoretically 6 and 7, 6 is got slightly more value, and 8 has slightly more value than 7. But I would say it comes down to personal preference, because it's the only difference here is D-Light. Like, some people use D-Light a lot, some people don't like using it so much. So it depends on you as a player. Guitars, 7 and 8, exact same. Never ever play 8 decks guitars. There's just no reason to. I'm getting bored of my own video. Jesus Christ. I mean, this is basically spreadsheet work, but you're getting the message. I hope you're getting the message, which is that Dex is applicable in some places, but generally it's not worth it. You want to be looking at the thresholds, the Dex thresholds for your weapon, and trying to shift towards those. Let's see. Lance, 7 Dex, good as fuck. Sair, Dare Ground, amazing changes. Ground Pound, even Ground Pound on Lance is having a little bit less recovery, is quite good. D-Light, amazing. If you can, get 7 Dex on Lance. So with Frax, drop down a Dex, because look at this, -8, -8. There's no point. There's no point. Who else? Does anyone have 7 Dex Lance? Let's have a look quickly. Is there a 7 Dex Lance naturally? I don't think so. Frax, Orion has 6, so push up to 7 with Orion. Oh, wait, no, is it 8? This fuck. Yeah. With Orion, Dex stance, fucking good if you're a Lance player. That's a really good stance. Axe, don't know anything about Axe, so I'm probably not going to talk too much about it. Seems pretty even. It seems really punishing for 2 decks. 2 dex seems pretty like awful in general, by the way. Like, it seems to exponentially grow on the negative side than it does on the like gaining dex side. So it's more. That's why it's more important to push your dex up to at least 4 than it is to shove down. Yeah, in general. Again, that depends on specific thresholds. Bow, no reason to have 7 over 6. You use frame offset, which is actually pretty good, and recovery. No, I'm wrong about that. Depending on how you play bow, you may want 6 or 7, but you never want 8. So again with sword, with Koji's sword, you never want 8 dex. You should never be playing dex Koji. Take off that dex. Why not? It's literally doing nothing. The extra stat point is literally doing nothing for Koji. So yeah, kill it. Never play dex stance on Koji. Same with monk. What does 8 dex spear do? +4 delight. Nah, recovery. Don't really need it. So again, monk, you're never going up to 8 dex. There's no reason. Core is 5 dex, right? Going up to 6 is core 5 dex. Just double check. Yep. So you haven't got much incentive as core to go up to 7 dex. Sorry, to go up to 6 dex. You're only gaining S-light, N-light, ground pound, ground. Ground pound, ground. You're never going to be like. That's not something that's relevant. N-light and S-light. That's a pretty big deal, actually. The 6 dex might be a little bump because gauntlets are struggling at the moment. What I think is more important here is that 4 dex is actually not that bad. So if you're playing a slower gauntlet style and you don't, or like that's slightly more accurate, you don't find yourself needing or feeling the need for it, maybe consider dropping the dex because you're only losing a frame on Sarah and Dare. Sarah, hard to punish if you're using your momentum correctly anyway, and Dare's just pretty good. Dare's hard to punish regardless. Scythe, we'll see. I don't think, like, currently Mirage of course is 6 dex. 5 dex, you're losing a frame on Dare, Nair, and Ground Pound. I really, really value those frames. I think Scythe Ground Pound is one of the most usable in the game. So you don't want to drop. You don't want to make that, like, take that away from it. As well as Nair and Dare. Dare is already slow at 6 dex. There's still a huge amount of recovery frames for how awkward the hitbox is. It's not worth jumping up for the frame off recovery. Recovery is already really hard to punish. N-light, you can already cover it with S-light. You don't need the extra recovery on miss, I think. It does feel nice, though. It does feel nice. I would, like, the only reason I would ever use the dex stance on Scythe is if I was playing, like, on high ping. And then I could throw out N-lights, like, to anti-air a little bit more, like, freely, and then S-light away if I need to scroll down further. Oops. S-light away if I felt the need. But yeah, that's already gone on too long, and I ended up rambling quite a bit. But I think I got all the information out there pretty much. So if you actually made it this far, like, good on you. You get the message, I'm sure. Anyway, like, there are certain dex thresholds. Check the form out. Check Dabreen's. I'll link the tweet below. Check it out yourself. Have a look at your legend, and maybe see if you should, like, see what stances you should and shouldn't use. You can work it out. It's a really well done, put together graph. So massive shout out to him. Go follow Dabreen on Twitter, and on YouTube as well. He posts great informational, like, guides and videos. And that'll be it. I will be hopefully uploading more regularly. I did this in one take, sort of YOLO, didn't write anything down, just drew this up because I've been wanting to talk about it for ages. And that was pretty much it. Like, high dex got nerfed, low dex got buffed. Things, low dex didn't get buffed. Like, 2 dex is still shite. Low dex characters got buffed because they can now go up to 4 or 5 dex, which is good. Speed is really good at the moment. I mean, general statements about the other stats, actually, just before I go. General statements about the other stats is high speed is really good still. Really, really good. Even though chain dodging and playing incredibly defensively sort of makes up for it a little bit, high speed is still great, especially in 2v2. Don't be slow in 2v2. People can rotate away from you and you can punish it really, really badly. If you're coordinated anyway. It's very easy to punish low speed. Defense and force, I would say, this is a thing actually. Force got changed a little bit more. So force does more damage and less knockback. Gives you less knockback, but does more damage overall if you have high force. So I would say that if you are a low force character, if you're a low strength character, you need kill sigs, or your weapon needs to have a solid kill option. If it doesn't, you're going to struggle. For example, Val took quite a big hit because 4 attacks, she now racks up damage slowly, but she still doesn't have any sigs that are fantastic for killing early. Whereas Hattori racks up damage less quickly now with the force changes, but still has these amazing kill sigs that she can go for when she needs them. So it makes less of a difference. So I would say low force for characters that don't have kill moves is now a little bit more punishing. For characters that do have more kill moves, like solid, reliable kill options, it is a buff. High force now is more viable as well. I would say force and defense, like high force, high defense is a 50-50, do what you want. Personally, I prefer force because I see it as more proactive. I would rather be rewarded for what I do than forgiven for what I fail to do. But that's partly personal philosophy, and it's just how I like doing it. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna cut it there, upload this. Hopefully this goes up on the 25th. When I'm doing it. Sorry, I just checked the time. I was like, oh shit, fuck. Okay, yeah. More videos coming out soon. One of the things I have done when I've been away is I've managed to get the wonderful Orange Bee has done me. I've started putting together an intro graphic for the channel, and maybe for the stream as well. He's done me a little music track, which is really nice, for the intro, and someone else might be able to get me a small animation. That said, what's coming up? I'll do a video soon, which is a pre-WCS blog. Winter Championship coming up. Really hyped for it, really excited. I've been playing so much. Feel better than ever. We'll see how it goes. I think with the current game state, the tournament's going to be really, really poor in terms of watchability. I have a hunch that this thing is going to be we're going to be seeing very long games because people are going to be chain dodging or floating, and we'll see. I mean, you'll see when we get to top 8. Maybe tournament pressure always makes people want to play a bit faster. Or it does the exact opposite. But usually the people who it does the exact opposite to don't have the balls to make it to top 8 anyway. So, yeah, we'll see. Get hyped for WCS. I'll do a vlog on that soon. And peace, yeah. Ciao.